Power corrupts and power attracts the corruptible. And one can say that not much has changed since JRD made that speech to the Central Advisory Council of Industries in 1969. Moving beyond these speed breakers will be India's biggest hurdle in the coming decade. Hello and welcome to the Ministers of Change. I'm Shireen Bhan. This week on the show, we deconstruct Maharashtra's political landscape.
Maharashtra lacks leadership, lacks focus and lacks understanding of the entire state holistic approach towards the state.
We ask, can Prithviraj Chavan save face for a floundering Congress-NCP alliance?
Opposition party which lack political will, we have ruling party which lack political will, and people don't have any other alternative.
We analyze why one of India's most industrialized states is falling back in the race.
Maharashtra needs to have competitive policies. Maharashtra needs quick decision making.
Other states, when you go to the leadership, they say, okay, tell us your problem and we'll solve it. In Maharashtra, many times they say, you have a problem, it's your problem.
And we explore the two Maharashtra paradox: high per capita income in some parts and persistent poverty in others. The story of 50 years of Maharashtra is a story of maximum extremes, and its capital city Mumbai in many ways a microcosm of these extremes. The city gives us a glimpse of the paradoxes that are cliches, but every once in a while there emerges a bridge of hope, like this one, which links the two extremes but took over a decade in the making.
अभी जो पृथ्वीराज चौहान कर रहा है वो अच्छा काम कर रहा है, एकदम परफेक्ट काम चल रहा है उसका, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं आ रहा है.
सब सरकार एक ही है, कोई किसी का नहीं है.
The city's most obvious paradox, Nariman Point and Dharavi, are part of the Indian subconscious. But Dharavi still has its slumdog millionaires. Maharashtra's Gadchiroli district has farmer suicides and a per capita income that's less than 1/3 of Mumbai.
उनको विजन अच्छा रख के अगर किया तो काम होंगे, नहीं तो सरकार में कोई दूसरा जाएगा, उसके कोई दूसरा आएगा, लेकिन सिस्टम तो वही है.
It's a little bit of problematic situation with the Congress government. They do not have the right person to govern the state. But I think finally they made a good choice with Prithviraj Chavan, but unfortunately he has very less time.
While Mumbai city has 24/7 power, this is not true for the entire metropolitan area, which, like some of its most backward districts, faces load shedding for close to 8 to 10 hours every day.
पावर का बहुत बड़ा प्रॉब्लम है. सरकार जो भी पावर देती है लोड शेडिंग के बारे में, वो पावर उन्होंने फिक्स देना चाहिए.
City is wasting money on lights for big events, but houses don't have electricity 24 hours.
Mumbai is Maharashtra's ATM. The financial capital accounts for 37% of the corporate tax collections in the country, but the city has no political representation. And herein lies perhaps the state's biggest conundrum, further intensified by the dominant position of the Maratha elite in the politics of the state.
They represent their constituencies, not even region. I would not say that Vilasrao Deshmukh represents whole of Marathwada, forget Maharashtra. I will not say that Sushil Kumar Shinde represents whole of Maharashtra or the entire South Maharashtra. I will not say the same thing, even about Sharad Pawar, I will not say the same thing. So I don't think anybody, after Yashwantrao Chavan in 1960s, after Yashwantrao Chavan, there is not a single chief minister who can be said to be representing whole of Maharashtra.
And perhaps the most blatant exhibition of this phenomena in recent times was the involvement of the then Chief Minister, Ashok Chavan, in the Adarsh Society scandal.
I have said yes and I offer to resign, and I leave it to you to decide about the final course.
Now, as Chavan and his predecessor Vilasrao Deshmukh trade accusations, the irony is stark.
From 1999, Vilasrao Deshmukh was there. He was the longest serving chief minister in the last 12 years. But he enjoyed power, he used power for himself. He was never serious about governance. That is the real problem. He lacked political will. After him, Sushil Kumar Shinde became the chief minister. He was there at least for 2 years, but again he was very poor on governance. But last 6 months, Prithviraj Chavan is there, chief minister with clean image, but he is not able to deliver the goods. So people are again angry. But the problem with Maharashtra is that we have opposition party which lack political will, we have ruling party which lack political will, and the problem before people is that they don't have any other alternative.
Scandal and inefficiencies have meant that when Prithviraj Chavan took over as Chief Minister of Maharashtra in November last year, he was the third one to occupy that office in as many years. Not surprising for a state where musical chairs for the top job has been a recurring feature since the 1980s. That decade till 1995 saw the Congress field 8 different chief ministers, all Maratha heavyweights with strong regional footholds in the state. The most prominent among them, Sharad Pawar.
Saying simply that Maharashtra is an urbanizing state or saying simply that Maharashtra is predominantly an agricultural state are actually catchyisms, they are truisms. They don't help political parties any. And I think political parties therefore need to come out of these symbolisms on the one hand and also the identity politics which they probably take shelter behind. Because once you are caught up in this trap of political material development, political parties start talking about identity.
And challenge for the Congress has come only from one quarter. In the form of Bal Thackeray and his aggressive Mumbai for Marathis agenda. The Thackerays since the 1970s enjoyed first family status in Mumbai city but didn't manage to garner the mass support through the state till 1995 when they came to power along with the BJP as a wave of saffron swept the country and the state.
Shiv Sena is actually a party of the urban lumpens, urban unemployed, urban population, which urban population and urban people generally have been completely ignored and neglected by the Congress over the years, and that's why that neglect actually surfaced in a form of anger and they joined Shiv Sena. Shiv Sena does not have, forget agriculture policy, they don't have an urban policy. They claim to have built this flyover, but flyover is not something like urban policy. Mumbai is in total transport chaos. Shiv Sena has no policy. Shiv Sena has no approach. Shiv Sena does not have ideology except by bringing in the question of so-called Marathi. No, majority of the people in Maharashtra are Marathi. But majority of the Marathi people are not supporting Shiv Sena.
But the Shiv Sena and the Congress are widely known to make adjustments with each other in the maximum city. For the last decade, while the Congress NCP has been in government, the Shiv Sena has retained power of India's richest municipality with a staggering annual turnover of 12,000 crore rupees. So while the Me Mumbaikar campaign has become the Sena's call, its critics ask, what has it done for the city which always seems to be crumbling under its own weight? The weight of over 10 crore people, 78% of who live in the city's slums, large conglomerations that keep growing, absorbing the millions that keep the city's wheels churning. In the absence of city planning, and more crucially, in the absence of a will to push through slum rehabilitation programs since the 1970s, has resulted in divisiveness. Perhaps best exemplified by the development one is seeing on Mumbai's mill lands.
In the state of Maharashtra, you will find that it is the construction industry which decides which cities are growing in what way. The state, that is to say the government and the political parties, don't seem to have any clue as to what is happening. And that is because all political parties are dependent upon the construction industry for resource support.
But there seems to be room for hope. Prithviraj Chavan, a technocrat from Delhi, might be as ruthless in Mumbai as Maratha counterparts, but he comes without the baggage of pleasing constituencies and lobbies in the state. Earlier this year, Chavan scrapped 2 special township projects worth over 12,500 crore rupees that had been awarded by his predecessor to private developers without competitive bidding. Several other land deals in the city are under review as well. Another move that has won Chavan praise has been his very candid request to the central government to fund support to the tune of almost 60,000 crore rupees to refurbish the city's mass transport system and treat these as national projects.
The moment he came in, he talked about Navi Mumbai Airport at near Panvel, and he took up that issue with the Environmental Ministry, acquisition of the land, brought those old issues, and I think Mr. Prithviraj Chavan has done a wonderful thing to bring it back on track. Then he's talked about metro and monorails. The third story is the coastal road. He's been able to tackle the environmental minister, see that a coastal road right from Nariman Point up to Bandra and then to Virar is going to be constructed, and he's taken that project onto hand. The Sion-Panvel highway is another thing which he is talking about, and of course the issue which he has newly brought about, which is very, very interesting, is the Pinjal River waters which are to be brought into Mumbai and this region of the Mumbai metropolitan region, which will provide surplus of waters into this sector, which at the present is going into the sea. And he's taken all these projects right up to the Prime Minister and asked for a national consensus to make it into national projects rather than state projects.
But simply trying to put the house in order in Mumbai will not be enough, because there is a Maharashtra beyond the financial capital. A Maharashtra that is home to more than 10% of India's poor, the third largest concentration of poor people in any state, next only to UP and Bihar. Coming up next, we explore the two Maharashtras paradox and analyze why industry is beginning to move out of the state.